The forest opens in a hazy glow as Stickman steps into frame, brushing dust off his shoulders like he just fell from the sky. He looks around with wide, curious eyes, wondering how a place can feel both ancient and alive at the same time. His voice is calm but playful as he introduces himself not just as a traveler, but as someone who accidentally discovered a timeline where nature still breathes freely. He smiles, inviting the viewer to follow his steps. Stickman kneels beside a young tree, gently touching its sprouting leaves as if greeting an old friend. He narrates the moment with an excited tone, explaining that in this era, planting trees isn't a chore, it's a celebration. Villagers cheer as seeds take root, and Stickman joins them, dancing awkwardly but happily. He admits he's terrible at farming, but promises to learn because the forest responds to every bit of care with vibrant energy. As Stickman explores deeper, he discovers elders teaching children the art of nurturing the land. He sits awkwardly among them, copying their movements with exaggerated precision, making the kids laugh. While narrating the scene, he emphasizes how knowledge of nature was once passed from generation to generation like precious treasure. He realizes the forest wasn't just a place to live. It was a teacher, a guardian, and a companion to everyone who respected it. Walking along a riverbank, Stickman notices the water so clear that fish appear like floating reflections. His voice softens as he describes the tranquility, comparing it to a world where everything breathes in harmony. He crouches near the surface, seeing his stick-shaped face warped by the ripples, and chuckles at his own distorted reflection. The river seems alive, whispering stories of balance and gratitude to anyone patient enough to listen. Suddenly, a flash of light surrounds Stickman, warping time like melting glass. He clings to a branch as the scene shifts, and when the world restabilizes, he finds himself in a different century. His narration shifts to surprise as he notices new tools: sharp axes, saws, and carts stacked with logs. People seem busy and determined, unaware that each tree felled is a silent heartbeat lost. Stickman senses something changing in the air. Stickman approaches a group of woodcutters, observing how proudly they demonstrate their skills. He comments on the craftsmanship, but also on the growing sound of cracking wood, a rhythm that feels less like progress and more like warning. Though he tries to join the work, the axe flies from his hands in slow-motion chaos. Everyone laughs at his clumsiness, but Stickman doesn't laugh back. Something heavy tugs at his thoughts. The once peaceful forest now stands wounded. Stickman narrates with unease as he walks between stumps arranged like silent gravestones. Birds circle above, confused by the shrinking canopy, while small animals scurry across barren soil. He traces the rings of a freshly cut trunk, counting decades of growth erased in minutes. Even though the workers celebrate productivity, Stickman begins to sense the first subtle tremors of imbalance. Clouds gather overhead, darker than before. Stickman pauses, feeling raindrops that smell less like renewal and more like tension. He explains that without the forest protection, storms become unpredictable and harsh, hitting the land with unfiltered force. Wind roars like an angry spirit, scattering leaves that once formed a safe shelter. Stickman wraps his arms around himself, realizing nature is starting to defend itself in desperation. The river he once admired now flows violently, carrying debris and mud in frantic swirls. Stickman narrates with a shaky voice as he tries to stay upright against the rushing water. He recalls how the trees once held the soil in place, forming natural barriers against erosion. Without them, the landscape collapses piece by piece. As he stumbles, he realizes the river isn't angry, it's overwhelmed, forced to carry the burden of imbalance. A sudden landslide erupts in the distance, rumbling like thunder across the valley. Stickman leaps back as rocks and soil crash downward, sweeping through abandoned fields. His narration grows tense as he explains how roots once locked everything together, preventing this chaos. Now the hills crumble like weakened bones, unable to hold their shape. Stickman senses the chain reaction of destruction unfolding faster than he can process. Rain intensifies, transforming pathways into torrents. Stickman tries to help villagers escape, guiding them through rising water with frantic gestures. His voice cracks as he describes the panic, the kind that comes when nature's warnings are ignored for too long. Houses tilt, roads sink, and the familiar forest backdrop dissolves into muddy waves. Stickman realizes he is no longer a traveler. He is now a witness to tragedy. A powerful surge of water knocks Stickman off his feet, sweeping him into a swirling flood. He narrates the chaos as he tumbles helplessly, describing branches, broken planks, and fragments of the forest swirling beside him. He grabs onto a floating log, clinging with trembling arms. The world spins in disarray, and Stickman feels the weight of every tree that once stood tall enough to prevent this disaster. Climbing onto a partially submerged rooftop, Stickman looks around at what used to be thriving land. Now it's a vast sheet of brown water, punctuated by fragments of lives uprooted. His narration grows heavier as he acknowledges the consequence of unchecked actions. He wipes mud from his face, understanding that the disaster wasn't caused by the storm alone. It was shaped by years of slow, careless destruction. As the floodwater slowly recedes, Stickman walks through the muddy aftermath. He narrates the eerie silence left behind, broken only by distant animal cries searching for lost homes. People gather in stunned groups, mourning not just damaged buildings, but the land that once protected them. Stickman kneels to touch the soggy ground, feeling how fragile the world becomes when nature's balance is ignored. A flash of light erupts again, lifting Stickman from the ruined world and pulling him through time once more. Colors blur, scenes overlap, and he shuts his eyes to steady himself. When the distortion ends, he stands in a blank, undefined landscape, a place that feels neither past nor future. His voice echoes slightly as he wonders what time wants to show him next, sensing the lesson is far from over. Images materialize around him like floating memories, flashes of forests, loggers, storms, and floods. Stickman narrates with new clarity, piecing together the patterns he failed to see at first. He realizes these events are not isolated. They are links in a chain forged by choices. Time is not punishing him, but guiding him towards understanding, urging him to see how every action echoes across generations. The landscape slowly rebuilds itself before his eyes. New sprouts pierce the soil, encouraged by faint rays of light. Stickman watches with cautious hope as nature demonstrates its ability to recover, though slowly and conditionally. His voice softens, acknowledging that healing is possible, but requires patience, protection, and awareness. He kneels beside a tiny seedling, treating it with reverence like the first step of redemption. Stickman begins planting new trees with careful intention, learning from each timeline he experienced. His voice carries a determined warmth as he explains how reforestation isn't just about restoring greenery. It's about rebuilding the partnership between people and the earth. He imagines a future where humans understand nature as an ally, not a resource to exhaust. Every seed he plants becomes a promise. As he works, villagers reappear, this time wiser and more attentive. Stickman narrates how communities begin to rebuild with respect for the land, integrating old traditions with new understanding. Terraces stabilize hills, water channels are restored, and forests begin to knit themselves back into the landscape. Stickman smiles with genuine relief, knowing that collaboration between people and nature can shape a safer timeline. As he works, villagers reappear, this time wiser and more attentive. Stickman narrates how communities begin to rebuild with respect for the land, integrating old traditions with new understanding. Terraces stabilize hills, water channels are restored, and forests begin to knit themselves back into the landscape. Stickman smiles with genuine relief, knowing that collaboration between people and nature can shape a safer timeline. Standing at the edge of a recovering forest, Stickman faces the viewer directly. His voice carries gratitude and urgency as he reflects on everything he has witnessed. The beauty of untouched nature, the harm of reckless exploitation, and the resilience of a world willing to heal if given a chance. He invites the audience to take part in protecting the future, reminding them that time travel isn't needed to make better choices today.